Welcome to Wildflower Weekly with Ashley Adair. I'm Ashley, and I work as an Ag and Natural Resources educator at Purdue Extension in Montgomery County. Thank you for joining us this week as we take a little bit of a different track and take a look at some flowers that we see in the backyard at this time of year. At the Wlfi weather station in West Lafayette, only 0.58 inches of rain has fallen in the month of June. The historical average in this area in June is 4.6 inches. Many of our daily high temperatures have been 8 or more degrees above average. The last time we saw conditions like this was June 2012. Because of these flash dry conditions, the woods is a bit dry and development a little bit slower on most of our plants. At McCormick Woods, the creek running through the area is dried up, leaving a muddy stream bed behind. Because of these conditions, we're going to take a brief backyard tour of some trees, shrubs, and flowers in bloom in spite of these dry conditions. Basswood trees bloom in early to mid-June. They attract a wide variety of pollinators, including bees, flies, and moths. There are also a great many insects that feed on the foliage and the bark of these trees. If a basswood has a lot of blooms, take a deep breath. The scent of these flowers is wonderful and probably the best smelling tree to bloom in June. The tree gets its name from the word bast, which refers to the stringy interior bark. This bark has a number of uses, including fiber and basket weaving. The wood of this tree, while soft, can be made into furniture, toys, paper, and even electric guitars. Also known as butterfly weed, this is one of several species of milkweed native to the Midwest. This is the only one with orange flowers, making it easy to pick out of a crowd. Just like other milkweeds, this milkweed plant serves as an important larval food for monarch caterpillars. Evidence of feeding includes frass, which is dark green poo, scattered around the plant, as well as plants that appear to have leaves completely eaten or stems chopped, like seen here. Monarch caterpillars were observed on these plants in late May. Dogwoods are an interesting group of plants. There are many species in this genus native to the Midwest. Some have a more shrub-like appearance, whereas others behave more like trees. This one behaves like a shrub and sends out new growth from the roots as well as through the crown. This plant is a hub for pollinator activity. Today, carpenter bees were abundant. This plant attracts several different kinds of bees, flies, and beetles. Several types of bird feed on the drupes, which are the fruits, when they are ready later in the year, including some of the more exciting species like wood ducks. Mammals are also known to browse the drupes and the foliage. It should be no surprise that the deer browse this plant as well. Fleabane is a common plant often thought of as a weed. Although this plant is weedy, it is a native and is sometimes successful at beating out the invasive competition in areas where it is found. It is often found in disturbed areas, such as the edges of lawns, construction sites, abandoned areas, and other less than ideal habitats. It gets its name from the idea that burning it could repel fleas, but there's not a whole lot of evidence that this is effective. A cousin of daisies and asters, this plant is one of several species that can be found in the Midwest. This member of the rose family has attractive blooms and fruits, making this plant a viable choice to replace invasive ornamentals like honeysuckle and burning bush. It's attractive to a number of species of pollinators, as seen here. And here's a view of the shrub when it's fully in bloom. Notice how it does have attractive white flowers that are spread quite a bit throughout the plant. We have an invasive species update for you this week. Although attractive and may remind you of hollyhocks, this plant is an invasive species, moth mullein. Some forms have white flowers like the one shown here, and some have yellow flowers. This invasive plant can be controlled by mowing or hand pulling. Because of the dry conditions over the past couple of weeks, I haven't mowed my lawn. We'll go on about 3 weeks of not mowing this coming Monday if we don't get any rain. Because of these conditions, some species that otherwise wouldn't have had a chance to grow have had the opportunity to get quite big in the last couple of weeks, even while the grass has gone dormant. Stabby and infuriating. This is Canada thistle, a common invader of lawns and fields, and basically any place that has good sun exposure. This plant forms huge networks of rhizomes underground. It's like when you see one mouse, you can count on there being hundreds somewhere nearby. With this plant, where you see one individual, there is so much more happening underground. This makes hand pulling an ineffective means of control, in addition to the spines that will stab your hands in the process. This plant can be controlled with herbicides that fall into the brush killer category, such as those with the active ingredients triclopyr, clopyralid, and glyphosate. Spot treatment with herbicide is recommended prior to mid-June. After that, like in the time period we're in now, mowing can help control this species. Once fall rolls around, you'll see more new plants sprouting, so herbicide becomes a viable option once again. The goal is to prevent this plant from flowering. So whether you do that by killing the plants early in their development or chopping off the plants before they flower or during flowering, all are viable options to help reduce the spread of this plant. Thanks for watching this week. We'll have more updates for you next week, and hopefully it'll rain this weekend so that we have more opportunity to show you what plants are in bloom. Thank you much, and make sure to follow us at Purdue Extension, Montgomery County on Facebook.